Good morning. Let me tell y'all something. Everybody wanna be successful. Everybody wanna win. You wanna be fit, wealthy, wise, blessed, and the boss. But let me ask you this. Can you show up when it ain't easy? That's the real question. Consistency ain't cute. It ain't flashy, but it works. See, folks love to be motivated. They scroll through Instagram, watch a little motivational clip, and they be like, ooh, I'm ready to grind for about 2 hours. Then what happens? They get tired. They get distracted. Life shows up, and boom, back to square one. Let me tell you the truth, and I must say it with love. Motivation is the appetizer. Consistency is the whole meal. You want to get somewhere. You want to change your life. Then you gotta force yourself to be consistent. Now, I ain't say it's gonna feel good. It's gon' feel like waking up at 5 a.m. when your bed feels like heaven. It's gon' feel like going to the gym when you ain't see no six back yet. It's gon' feel like writing your book when ain't nobody even reading yet. But let me tell you something. Discipline is the grown, folk version of motivation. That's what separates the dreamers from the doers. That's what builds legacies. Now, I ain't perfect. I didn't wake up on TV. I didn't get handed this mic. I was homeless, y'all. I was sleeping in a car. I had a vision, but I had no comfort. You think I felt like grinding every day? No, but I forced myself to keep showing up, and that's what I need you to do. You want to change your life. Then do something every day that feeds your purpose. You tired, do it tired. You broke, do it broke. You scared, do it scared, but do it. Every single day. You see, excuses are just lies dressed up in fancy clothes. You don't need perfect conditions, you need a consistent commitment. Now let me take you to church real quick. God don't bless laziness. He blesses faith plus effort. You got a dream, God gave it to you, but He's waiting to see if you're gonna do the work. You can't expect a harvest if you ain't willing to plant every day. So here's the challenge. Pushpin don't wait for motivation. Pushpin don't wait for perfect timing. Pushpin don't wait for someone to believe in you. Force yourself to be consistent. And when you do, oh man, you gon' look back one day and say, thank God I kept going even when I didn't feel like it. Because that's when everything changes. Let me talk to you straight, no sugarcoating. Everybody's out here chasing results. People want the good life. They want the body, the money, the business, the peace, the platform, the applause, but they don't want the process. And you know what the process looks like. Repetition. Boring, unglamorous, unseen repetition. See, consistency ain't exciting. It ain't flashy. Ain't nobody making TikToks about waking up and doing the same thing for the 100th time with no claps, no cheerleaders, no likes, no standing ovation. But let me tell you something. Consistency will take you places that motivation never could. People love to wait on motivation. I just don't feel it today. I'm not in the mood. I'll do it tomorrow. No, no, no. That's how people stay stuck. Motivation is emotional. It comes and goes like the weather. You can't build your future on something that's flaky. You gotta build it on consistency, on showing up every day, even when it don't feel good. Let's break this down so you understand how powerful this is. Take any area of life. You trying to get in shape. You can't just eat one salad and expect to lose 20 pounds. That salad ain't a miracle. But you eat healthy, drink water, move your body every single day. Now you're talking. You trying to build wealth. You ain't gonna get rich off one paycheck. But you save, invest, stay disciplined over years. Now that's how generational wealth gets built. You trying to improve spiritually, emotionally, mentally. You can't read one book, go to one church service, or listen to one podcast and think you transformed. Nah, growth comes from daily effort. Small steps taken daily beat big steps taken occasionally. Let me tell you something else. Most people lose because they quit during the boring parts. That's the truth. Success ain't a highlight reel, it's a behind the scenes grind. It's showing up when it's raining, when it's cold, when you tired, when you broke, when you doubting yourself, when the results ain't showing yet. That's what separates winners from wishers. Consistency is what builds trust in business, in relationships, in yourself. You know why people love reliable brands, good leaders, strong mentors, because they show up the same way every time. You can count on them, you trust them, and you start to believe in them. But what about you? Can you trust you? Can you count on you to do what you said you were gonna do? That's why I tell folks, don't focus on being inspired. Focus on being consistent. Wake up and do it anyway. Tired, do it tired. Busy, do it smart. Discouraged, do it slow, but do it. Because the people who win in this life, they ain't the smartest, the prettiest, or the loudest. They're the ones who just keep showing up. And one more thing, you don't need a fancy plan to be consistent. You need a reason, a why, that's bigger than your mood. A purpose that pulls you forward when everything else is pushing you back. When you know what you're fighting for, your family, your future, your freedom, you won't need to be pushed. You'll push yourself, so remember this. Consistency ain't sexy, but it wins every single time. Let me break this down so it sticks with you. A lot of y'all are out here chasing motivation like it's the Holy Grail. You watch a video, you hear a speech, you read a quote, and boom, you get that little fire. You feel pumped. You say, this is my time. I'm about to change everything. And for that moment, yeah, you feel like you can run through walls. But what happens 2 days later? That fire fizzles, that energy fades. The voice that said, let's go, is now saying, let's rest. That's the problem. Motivation is a spark, and sparks are quick. Sparks are exciting, but you can't cook a full meal with a spark. You can't heat your house with a spark. You need something bigger. You need an engine, and that engine, that's consistency. Consistency don't look flashy, but it's what keeps you going long after the spark dies out. You ever seen a train? That thing is powerful. It can pull tons of weight across miles and miles of track. But it ain't starting with no little spark. It starts with a heavy engine that keeps pushing, regardless of the weather, the terrain, or the noise around it. That's what your life needs, something deeper than hype, something stronger than temporary excitement. See, what you gotta understand is that motivation is emotional. It's based on how you feel, and feelings change by the hour. You can wake up ready to conquer the world, and by noon you feel like quitting. That's human nature. So if your grind is based on motivation, you're going to be up and down like a roller coaster. But if your grind is based on consistency, you learn how to show up even when you don't feel like it. That's the difference between amateurs and professionals. An amateur works when it feels good. A professional works no matter what. And don't get me wrong, motivation's a good thing. It's a powerful way to get started. That spark can get the fire going. But what keeps the fire burning? Routine, structure, discipline, repetition, habits. That's the fuel. That's what feeds your future. That's the engine. You want to write a book. That's cute. But you need to write every day, not just when you're feeling poetic. You want a business. Then you gotta work on it every week, not just when your boss makes you mad. You want to build your body. Then hit the gym even when you're tired, sore, or stressed. Because guess what? The engine don't care about your excuses. The engine just keeps going. And here's the hard truth. Life doesn't reward effort. It rewards consistency. You can't show up once and expect transformation. You can't give it 1 week and think you deserve results. Nah, you show up over and over and over again, and eventually that consistency starts building confidence. It starts building strength. It starts building results, and once you've built that engine, once you've trained yourself to show up no matter what, that's when your life changes. Not from one big leap, but from 1,000 small steps taken every day without fail. So don't just chase the spark. Build the engine, because motivation might start the journey, but only consistency will take you to the finish line. Let me tell you something that most folks won't say out loud. Your success is built in silence. We live in a world where everybody wants to be seen. Folks post their workouts before they break a sweat. They post quotes like they got it all figured out. They post the grind, the coffee, the meetings, the laptop shots, all of it. But let me ask you a real question. What are you doing when nobody's watching? Because that right there, that's the difference maker. Anybody can show up when the camera's on. Anybody can work when people are clapping, supporting, encouraging. That ain't hard, but the real growth, the real character, that shows up when the room is empty, the phone is dry, and nobody's asking if you're still trying. Discipline is when you push yourself to do the right thing even when there's no spotlight, no trophy, no pat on the back. It's when you make the choice to get up and grind, not because you're being rewarded today, but because you believe in tomorrow. Now listen, I know it's hard. I know some mornings it's easier to hit snooze, scroll social media, or just give in to the comfort. Ain't nobody there to check you. Ain't no boss over your shoulder. Ain't no audience waiting to applaud. But you gotta learn to clap for yourself in private before anybody will celebrate you in public. You gotta ask yourself, who are you when nobody's watching? Are you still writing that book when no one's reading it yet? Are you still training when nobody knows your name? Are you still studying when the exam is months away? Are you still praying, practicing, preparing, even when it feels like nothing's moving? That's discipline, and discipline don't get headlines. Discipline don't get likes, but it gets results. Let me tell you something I learned in my own life. People love to call you lucky when they see your success. But they wasn't there when I was broke, homeless, sleeping in a car, telling jokes for free just to get by. That was discipline. I wasn't on TV then. I wasn't famous. I wasn't being celebrated, but I kept showing up, kept grinding, kept believing. Why? Because I had built the muscle of discipline, and that muscle don't need a crowd to flex. If you're waiting for people to cheer you on, let me be honest, you might be waiting a long time. Sometimes your vision will be too big for others to understand. Sometimes your path will be too personal for others to walk with you. So you better learn to walk alone. You better learn to push yourself without applause. Because the truth is, the work you do in the dark is what shines brightest in the light. So don't skip steps just because nobody's looking. Don't lower your standard just because no one's checking. Hold yourself accountable. Be your own boss, your own coach, your own motivator. Because that's how discipline works. It's not about impressing others. It's about honoring yourself. So if you're serious about building something real, a career, a calling, a legacy, then you better get comfortable being consistent in the quiet. Because it's what you do when nobody's watching that determines who you'll be when everybody is. Let me talk to you straight, because this might hurt a little, but it's the truth. Excuses are the #1 killer of dreams. Not your background, not your lack of money, not where you grew up, not even your failures. It's the excuses you tell yourself that keep you stuck. And the craziest part, excuses sound reasonable. They sound like facts. They sound like protection. But they ain't. They're nothing but chains dressed up like comfort. They're lies we tell ourselves to stay small, to avoid pressure, to stay in our safe little bubble where we don't have to stretch or risk or grow. You ever catch yourself saying, "I don't have time right now. I'm just too tired after work. It's not the right season for me. I'm not ready yet." Sound familiar? We've all said them, but let me hit you with some reality. You make time for what you value. You scroll your phone for hours, but you ain't got 30 minutes for your goal. You binge shows, gossip, nap, snack, but you too tired to build your dream. Come on now. That's not time management, that's priority mismanagement. And look, I'm not saying you got a hustle 24/7 with no rest. That's unhealthy. But there's a difference between rest and resistance. Rest is earned. Resistance is when you're making excuses because the work feels uncomfortable, and guess what? It's supposed to feel uncomfortable. Growth doesn't happen in comfort zones. Let me tell you how I used to live. Back when I was broke and struggling, I had every excuse in the book. No degree, no resources, no connections. Slept in my car. I could have said, well, it ain't meant for me. I could have blamed life, but I didn't. I made a decision. I'm gonna do what I can with what I got. And I'm not gonna let my excuses talk me out of my destiny. And let me tell you something, you don't need perfect conditions to start. You just need the courage to stop making excuses. Because here's the truth. Every excuse you give buys you comfort today, but steals your progress tomorrow. You delay the life you could be living because you're afraid of being uncomfortable, afraid of failing, afraid of looking foolish. But success don't come to the most comfortable. It comes to the most committed. Some of you are talented. You got ideas, gifts, dreams, but you keep getting beat by your own excuses. You keep saying someday, but someday ain't on the calendar. You gotta say today, I fight back. Today, I stop negotiating with my excuses. Start small, one step, one commitment, one action that replaces the excuse with execution. You tired, do it tired, don't know how. Learn, don't feel ready, start anyway. Because truth be told, you'll never be 100% ready for anything that really matters. You prepare by doing, you grow by moving. Let me say this loud and clear. Excuses will always be available, but so is effort. One leads to regret, the other leads to results. So what are you gonna choose today? Comfort or calling? Excuses or elevation, you can't have both. Excuses might protect your ego, but they will never build your future. Stop feeding them, starve them, replace them with action, with discipline, with belief. Because on the other side of your excuses is everything you've been praying for. But you got to stop talking yourself out of it and start showing yourself what you're truly capable of. Let me make something real clear. Readiness is a myth. You keep waiting on the perfect moment. You keep saying, when I feel more confident, when I learn a little more, when things calm down, when I'm ready. But here's the truth that nobody wants to hear. You'll never feel fully ready to chase something that matters. Never, because big dreams always come with big doubts. That feeling of hesitation, that fear. That voice in your head saying, you're not good enough. You're not prepared enough. You're not worthy yet. That ain't a sign to stop. That's a sign that you're headed toward growth, and growth don't feel comfortable. See, people think successful folks started because they had it all figured out. No, they started scared. They started unsure. They started when everything inside them said, wait. But you know what they had. Commitment, and commitment don't wait for comfort. Let me tell you something from my own life. When I left my job to pursue comedy, I wasn't ready. I didn't have money. I didn't have a backup plan. I didn't have some fancy agent or a safety net. I had a dream, a calling, and commitment. That's it. And that commitment made me show up even when I was broke, even when I was tired, even when I failed. Commitment is stronger than feelings. It don't depend on how you feel today. It don't care if it's raining, if you're sleepy, if you had a rough week. Commitment says, I gave my word, so I'm doing the work. You want to get in shape. You can't wait to feel ready to hit the gym. You just go tired, sore, nervous, and keep showing up. You want to start a business. You can't wait till every detail is perfect. You start with what you know, and you grow along the way. You want to get out of debt, fix your relationships, heal your heart, write that book. Start now, not next month, not next year, not when Mercury leaves retrograde. Because here's the truth, your life won't change when you feel ready. Your life will change when you get serious, when you say, enough is enough. When you stop entertaining distractions, when you stop postponing progress, when you stop asking for permission to chase what's already yours. Let's talk real. Life is gonna throw all kinds of reasons for you to delay. You'll always have something going on. The money won't look right, the timing won't feel right, people around you will doubt you, you'll doubt yourself. But commitment cuts through all that noise. It says, I may not have everything, but I have enough to begin. And once you begin, something powerful happens. Your consistency starts to build confidence. You realize, wait, I can do this. I'm stronger than I thought. I'm built for this. But you only discover that version of you when you stop waiting and start moving. So don't wait to feel ready. Don't wait for perfect. Don't wait for the fear to disappear. It probably won't. Instead, let that fear ride in the back seat while you keep driving toward your purpose. Commitment is what turns ordinary people into extraordinary stories. It's not about talent. It's not about timing. It's about making a decision and sticking to it. Because at the end of the day, it's not about when you started, it's about whether you stayed in the game. Let me explain something to you that'll change the way you look at your habits forever. You are not just what you do, you are what you do consistently. Every time you repeat an action, a thought, a choice, you're not just getting a result. You're shaping your identity. You're telling yourself and the world, this is who I am. So if you hit the snooze button every morning, guess what? You're becoming someone who chooses delay. If you show up late half prepared, distracted, that's not just a bad habit. That's becoming part of your identity. But the beautiful thing is, it works the other way too. If you wake up and show up, even when you're tired, you're becoming reliable. If you push through challenges, stay committed, hold yourself accountable, you're becoming disciplined. Every little act of consistency is laying a brick in the foundation of the person you're building. And let me tell you, real confidence, real strength, real pride doesn't come from what you do once. It comes from what you do daily. People talk about motivation like it's magic, but magic don't make kings. Rituals do, habits do, repetition does. The reason why consistency is so powerful is because it rewrites your self-image. You stop seeing yourself as someone who tries and start seeing yourself as someone who does. There's a shift in your spirit when you prove to yourself not just once, but over and over that you can keep showing up. You're no longer wishing for change. You're becoming the change. And look, I know consistency isn't sexy. It ain't flashy. It's not always fun. Some days it's just putting your head down and doing what needs to be done. It's waking up early when nobody's clapping for you. It's saying no to distractions when your friends are partying. It's choosing your goal over your mood. But let me tell you, that's where greatness is born. You don't become a champion when you lift the trophy. You become a champion in all the days you trained when nobody saw. You don't become a writer when the book hits the shelves. You become one in all the early mornings you stared at a blank page and refused to quit. You don't become successful when the world notices. You become successful when you decide who you want to be, and you show up for that decision every single day. That's identity, and it's built in the shadows, not the spotlight. You gotta stop saying I want to be, and start living like I already am. Start acting like the person you're becoming. And the way you do that is through your consistency, not just on Mondays, not just when you feel pumped, but every single day that you get a chance to breathe and grow. Because when it's all said and done, people may remember your results, but you'll remember your journey. You'll remember the version of yourself that rose above excuses, stayed committed, and built a life not from bursts of energy, but from steady, faithful work. So if you're wondering who you are, don't look at your dreams. Look at your habits. Look at what you repeat. That's your real identity. You're not waiting to become someone great. Every act of consistency is proof that you already are. So let me leave you with this. Everything you want, the career, the health, the peace, the purpose, the confidence, the life you see in your mind, it's not hiding from you. It's just waiting on you to show up for it every single day. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to have all the answers. You don't need a fancy degree, a million followers, or some stroke of luck. What you need is consistency. That steady, quiet, unshakable decision to keep showing up. For yourself, your dream, your growth, no matter what the weather looks like outside or inside. You gotta force yourself sometimes. Yes, force, because it won't always feel good. It won't always feel rewarding. It won't always feel like it's working, but feelings are temporary. Discipline is forever. Force yourself to be consistent when it's hard, when it's slow, when it's lonely. Force yourself to keep moving, not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. Because the version of you that you're trying to become. They're already out there doing the work, building the habits, crushing the excuses. That person is waiting on you to catch up. You are building your name, your legacy, your identity one day at a time, and the world might not notice yet. That's okay. Let them sleep. Let your results wake them up. So today, I dare you to stop negotiating with your comfort. Stop letting fear write your story. Stop waiting for motivation to knock on your door. Open that door yourself. Walk through it and keep walking, because once you commit, really commit, and stay consistent, you won't have to chase success. Success will start chasing you. Now go out there and do what most won't, so you can live how most never will.